Nordstrom.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood show. I am Russ Evans along with Shannon Nordstrom.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
Chris will be along shortly. We're keeping him out in the hall at bay for a while. We got some secrets to tell and hear about him, so we're going to keep him out there for a while.
Yeah. The reality is, it's Miracle Treat Day as we record live.
It's a miracle.
And so his morning radio show is part of the local promotions for Miracle Treat Day at Dairy Queen. And
Dairy Queen all across the
And we're going to let him go only if he brings us treats.
Exactly.
So I hope he is able to live up to his end of the bargain. We'll be snarfing some treats at some point here.
Last year, didn't he, or something?
I don't remember.
Happened. All I know is that we didn't get any miracle treat.
I think we did. I think it was 2 years ago he stood us up.
Was it? Maybe it was 2 years ago.
Not sure. But regardless, it's a big day for the Dairy Queens across the country. They do that as a fundraiser, and it is a pretty neat deal. I know locally we've got one of the local stores that is constantly up towards the top as the number one seller in the country.
Yeah, they've got so many. I don't know how they do it.
It's a system. They got a system down. They pre-make them and have things ready, and they just crank them out.
I believe that's
Madison, South Dakota.
Isn't
it?
Yeah, Madison.
That's my first instinct. I say that.
Yeah, I wanted to say Hartford, but
no, I think
you're
it's
right. Madison,
Madison, South Dakota.
We'll probably get it wrong, but it doesn't matter. They're all doing.
They're right here in South Dakota.
They're doing it. So, hey, we're just going to jump right in because we've got. That's what we do. It's about the caller. So I just want to get Derek on the phone. He's been waiting a while, so we're just going to jump right in. Hey, Derek, how you doing?
I'm good, guys. How about yourselves?
Good. Tell us about that Tacoma.
Okay, well, about 3 weeks ago, I brought it into my mechanic. It needed an oil change and a couple other things, and it had a belt squeak at that time. Mechanic looked at the belt squeak, decided it needed a new belt, put it on. Ran great for about a week. A week later, the belt basically came off something inside and wrapped itself around the fan and shredded completely. It was mechanic said it took him about an hour to unpeel it from everything inside. So at that point, he put a new belt on and put a new pulley on because he said he saw one of the pulleys kind of wobbling a little bit, nothing crazy, but just to be careful, put a new pulley on it. Yesterday, running it, started making noise again. Was able to drive it to my mechanic this time. Luckily, didn't have to have it towed. And the belt was like coming off of the water pump. It was like one rib off the water pump. And it seems to be related to the air conditioning. Like if it's squeaking and I turn the air off, it kind of stops. If I put the air on, it's not every time, it's kind of intermittent. So I'm just wondering if you guys have ever heard of like an air conditioner compressor locking up intermittently, and would that be enough to like throw a belt off of that?
Well, one thing I'll say, Russ is ready to jump on this, but one thing I'll say is that we get a lot of calls on the show about belt squeaks, and typically they're just an annoyance, and people are trying to figure out a way to manage that annoyance. And like Gates makes kits for people that get belts, and they get all the idlers and the tensioners, and you can buy like a whole kit for that to freshen everything up. But very seldom does the call end the way that your call has ended, with a belt that has been destroyed and a second one now that's been put on that is becoming destroyed. So there is something either completely out of alignment because of a bearing or a bushing out, or there is something that is putting a huge load on that's burning the belt up and forcing it off. And we have seen some problems with compressors, but Russ has been working on so much AC stuff lately. They've had some weird ones, and see what his thoughts are on this.
Well, starting and stopping when the AC's coming on, I think that's just putting a load on the system. So what you're hearing is the difference between loaded and unloaded with that AC system on the belt. I think what's going on is you've got pulleys out of alignment. So if one's out of alignment, even a little bit, let's say the water pump's worn or it's moved out on its shaft a little bit, they're pressed on and it could have moved out a little bit, or the alternator's off, power steering, air conditioning, any of those, they all have to be 100% perfectly in alignment. And they're all at different levels, so it's really hard to see where they're at. They do make a little laser line tool you can drop on, and it fits the number of grooves you have, and it will shine a little laser beam straight across, and it will hit every pulley exactly at the same point, so you can see
interesting.
if they're in line.
It seems like somebody would invent something like that.
Mm-hmm. And then if you've got one that's off, if it's a water pump, you just got to put a pump on it. If it's an alternator, it may have a bad pulley or the bearings may have gone out. And you can shim things. I mean, they made them for hot rods, thinking that something may have to be shimmed to get it just right if it's not a factory component.
Don't have to do that very often on factory setups.
No, usually if we do that, we'll see that we've got a pulley that has it's either been bent for some reason, and it could have been. If the belt came off and wrapped around things, that is enough to bend that pulley. It does the old Indiana Jones and reach out and whoosh and cracks it with the whip and pulls it, and it can tweak it enough that it's bent, and that can come just from the belt breaking.
The AC compressor, if that was locking up, let's just say, if it was completely locking up, that would burn a flat spot in the belt more so than chuck it off the side. I mean, eventually it would chuck it off the side, but that stress of that compressor would do that. Has your air conditioning ever stopped operating?
No, it works fine. So
yeah, there's an electromagnetic clutch behind the freewheeling pulley on the compressor, so that when the AC compressor is not being commanded to be engaged, it should just sit there and freewheel on a bearing. And then when it gets the signal to engage, that electromagnetic clutch locks it up so it turns the pistons inside the compressor. And that is a normal operation for that to click on and off at different cycles. Now, if it was excessively cycling, or if you have extra pressure in your system due to a blockage, it could make that really bogged down heavy on the compressor, but that still typically doesn't chuck the belt off. You got something out of alignment, I think, that for whatever reason, they need to give that a good physical inspection, belt off, check every pulley, make sure it's freewheeling, make sure it's, grab it, look for thrust back and forth to make sure that there's not a bearing out, good physical inspection to make sure you haven't had a rock come up in there, something stupid that got in there and chewed up or put an impact on one of the pulleys where the grooves are at, where it becomes a sharp area and starts cutting on it.
Yeah.
An edge of a pulley bent. I mean, that's the kind of stuff somebody needs to give that thing a good physical inspection. And then along with, inspecting and make sure you've got proper engagement going on with the AC compressor. But if the AC is working and it works consistently while this belt is on, I don't think that's it.
Yeah, I think you're going to find that there's a pulley out of a line.
That's kind of my feeling too. So I think we'll go back and, hopefully they can do that with a laser and just eyeball it and kind of say, well, it looks pretty good. It's running on all the pulleys straight.
If they're unable to get it figured out, I mean, they're probably a great shop, but maybe that's not their thing they do all the time. It's a pretty straightforward mechanical operation, but I would think that you should, they should be able to get it figured out. And if not, I'd get a second opinion.
Does that help you out?
Right on. It does. Thank you guys. Appreciate your help.
Thanks for calling Under the Hood. Take care. 866-594-4150. I see Chris Carter has arrived in the hall with Miracle Treats. So we are going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Of course, the Under the Hood show is brought to you by Sturdivant's.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. Hi, guys.
Hi, Chris.
You can come late like this anytime you want.
Yeah, if I bring Dairy Queen with me, it's a valid
Only
late?
if it's helping out children.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair assessment or a fair trade there.
Yeah, there's actually a donate button right on the homepage of underthehoodshow.com to help that cause out.
Children's Miracle Network. Go buy a Blizzard today.
Yeah.
All right.
And you get yourself a treat.
And if you're listening to this after Miracle Treat Day, donate to your favorite charity. Just donate to your favorite charity today. Because we reminded you. You don't have to mention us or anything.
Yeah, anyone.
866-594-4150. Covered in ice cream. But let's go to Missouri and talk to Harold. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Harold, what can we do for you?
Yes, I've got a Lincoln 2000 Lincoln Town Car. I was having problems with the door locks. I couldn't get the thing to start every once in a while. And sometimes you could open the door with the key fob. Sometimes you get it started, and sometimes you wouldn't. Well, I eliminated the problem. I got rid of the key fobs. But Shannon said that the problem was that they might have had a remote start on it at one time. And I checked with the owner, and they never had a remote start.
Harold, are you there?
Yes.
Okay.
I thought maybe he just was eating a miracle treat too and just left us.
Okay, so
No. We had a little glitch there.
we lost you for a second. They didn't have a remote start ever on the vehicle.
So we know that now.
Yes, but now all I do is use a key now, and it'll start every time. I can unlock the doors and everything. But I was just wondering if there was any other problem with it. And I've tried different key fob that came with the vehicle, and it did the same thing. It wouldn't start sometimes.
There's probably a problem with a loss of signal between the door lock module and the security module. So when you're locking it with the key, it's arming the security system or when you're locking with that key fob. But when you disarm it, it's not shutting it off. It's killing the regular alarm, so the horn's not honking, but it's not allowing the anti-theft to start the car, which is very possible. And now, if you lock it with the key and unlock it with the key, that switch is probably working properly, so it starts every time. So in the case of a 2000 Lincoln like that, there's a couple things you could do. Either leave it just the way it is and use the key like we did years ago, or have a remote start or even just a keyless entry installed on it. That's going to be cheaper than trying to fix your factory one and trace it down. Just have them put on a simple one that locks and unlocks the doors. They do make those still, and they're a lot cheaper than a remote start. You might spend $150.
I'm just going to use the key now because I've gotten used to it for now. I have a couple other things. Apple cider vinegar to remove rust. How long do you have to leave it in the tank? And as far as bugs and things on your radiator, I had a guy tell me one time, the fabric screening that you have like on windows, it's got to be the fabric though. You cut a piece of that and you can put it in front of your radiator. You can, if you got a metal around your radiator, just use magnets to hold it on. If not, a speedy tie through that and around to something. And the next time you get a whole bunch of bugs on there, just take a brush and brush it right off.
Clean it right off. As long as you can get in there to the radiator. Some of them are so tight you can't get to the front of it. But if you can't, Chris's car, you can't get to the radiator. You can't even see it without a flashlight peeking through the hole. But most big vehicles you can, so that's a great idea for that.
That's what the stock car guys have done for years back. They would put a screen or a mesh in front of the radiators to stop rocks from penetrating the radiator and getting in there. You just got to remember to keep an eye on it. And if it gets bad enough, just take it off and throw it away. It's cheap stuff and put another one on there.
The apple cider vinegar or any type of cleaner you put in there, you keep it in there until it's clean. And that could, depending on the layer of rust, it could be a day. It's usually a minimum of 24 hours, but it could be a maximum of a few weeks. I've had my Model T gas tank, I've got a new one but I cleaned the original. And when I cleaned the original, I filled that up, and it was closer to 4 weeks before it was clean.
Oh, wow.
You know, I cleaned it, or I put it in there, and then eventually it turned really dark. You couldn't see through it. I dumped it out, inspected it, poured it right back in, the same stuff, let it sit another 5 days, dumped it out, looked in it, said, no, there's still quite a bit in there, put more in there. When I got to that last time, when I dumped it out, it was looking really good. There were only a few little spots left. At that point, I did put some new stuff in because it was super heavy with rust. And then I waited until it looked really good and clean and dumped it out, and then sprayed it with some PB Blaster inside just to coat the whole thing with oil, and just put her on a Y spray and hosed it down, and then I just turned the tank over several times, and then I capped it all off and put it on the shelf, and it's still sitting there.
Harold,
Probably check it.
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Would your kids ever dream of just using the key and not using the remote anymore?
No,
they would get it fixed. I mean,
they'd have to get it fixed.
They would have to get it fixed.
Yeah, it's just no. They'd survive, but eventually they'd want to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Well, first off, they'd have to say, "Where is my key?" And then once they found the key, then they'd have to say, "Where does the key go?" Because I don't believe the cars that they're driving have keyholes in the door. You got to pop the cover off to put the key in the hole.
Both of the cars that my kids have got fobs, and they're just an emergency key.
And then they're push button start.
Yep.
Mine both have physical keys to start the car.
Yeah.
I feel right now like the tough dad who made his kids do it the hard way, even though it's not at all. But I feel like,
we got our first remote start, I think, back in about 1976.
Yeah.
And my dad looked at me and said, "Here's the key, kid. Go start my car." So I was their first remote starter. And I went out and opened the door, start the car up, and then I had to close the door and lock it and bring the key in. And I can't tell you how many times I locked the key in the car.
Did that one work intermittently also?
No, I thought that was the greatest thing as a 6-year-old kid. Let's go start the car.
Oh, that's awesome.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Indiana and talk to Dale. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dale, what can we do for you?
Well, first, last year, Russ helped me with my 2001 Bravada 4-wheel drive. Wasn't working. I put a servo motor on it, kept blowing the fuse, and he said, "Get you a module." And that took care of it. And I wanted to thank you guys for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
But today, I'm working on a 620i John Deere Gator. And I hope you don't laugh me off the air, but it runs terrible. It runs good at high speed, but at medium or low speed, it just loads up, fouls the plugs. If you step on the throttle in neutral and clear its throat, as per se, sometimes it'll idle then, sometimes not. It seems to work better in cooler weather versus warm.
What that model of John Deere, what is that? I stand for fuel injected?
Yes.
So it's something that was made since 2015, 14, 13, somewhere in there.
It could have
2010.
It could have a couple problems. I mean, you could have an injector that's leaking, and then when you give it more throttle, it needs more fuel at the higher speeds anyways. When it's cold, it needs more fuel when it's cold, so it would run better. The other thing that it could be is a temperature sensor on the engine. If it's reading the wrong temp and it thinks it's actually colder than it is, it's going to be delivering more fuel. But at the higher RPMs, it'll compensate for that, and it'll walk through that and run good. They do make some scanners you can get for those at-home scanners that'll read them. There's quite a few power sports places now that are selling those. We were doing some work on an old Suzuki we have, which has got a carburetor, and they had a scanner available I saw online. There were some different ones, and I thought, well, that's neat. But they were vehicle specific. They had one for the Suzuki, one for Yamaha, one for Arctic Cat. And you could buy the handheld scanner, you plug it in, and then you could read some basic things, what the codes were and what the data was. And if you see you've got a temp sensor that says 48 degrees and it's 75 degrees out, then that's a problem right there, and you need to address that. But that allows people to fix them on their own at home and bypass a dealership and save some money because they.
Well, I took it to John Deere and they cleaned the throttle body and changed oil and put spark plugs in. Said there, it's fixed. And
But
it
it wasn't.
nothing for me.
Yeah.
Well, and John Deere is somebody that has gotten enough static over the last 10 years about giving people the ability to repair things. They've been at the center of a lot of those right to repair lawsuits and such. And I don't know if that extends clear down to their Gators or not, or if it's just their big tractors, but maybe they don't have that available as others do quite yet.
Right.
But having said that, we see that same problem with cars with temperature sensors, and that sure sounds like a good place to look, especially if they've done those basics already. And of course, always check state of health of the engine just to make sure there's not something goofy going on with a valve or something inside the engine. You hope not.
Vacuum leak or something.
Yeah, just kind of go back to the basics, and then if not, we have them do some readings on it.
Dale, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe to that and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Martin Goodson. Congratulations from all of us here under the hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, UTI.edu, and Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of protecting your cars. And before you go too far with a car, I mean, you've got to be you do need to know. You need a mechanic. That's
at some point.
That's a good part of protecting your car. You can't just own a car and never get it repaired. So you're going to need good mechanics out there, and good mechanics come from Universal Technical Institute. They're going to know. They're going to teach you everything you need to know about the automobile. Cars, trucks, even power sports equipment. They do power sports, marine mechanics, jet skis, motorcycles,
Gators,
all the Gators. Yeah, there you go. We had a call about a Gator. There's a repair place for that. You wouldn't have to worry about what's wrong with it because you've got a good mechanic from UTI who can teach you how to fix it.
Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Lee. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Lee, what can we do for you?
Yes, I called about. I have a. I think it's a 7+ C reader, 7+, and I just want to know. I can update it every year. I want to know was it one of the good ones or it's a. It reads the OBD2 and the EOBD, and I'm not too familiar with those, but I just want to know was it a good one to read a code reader.
Is that a Bluetooth one you buy and it connects to your phone?
You can.
But otherwise, it's just a handheld unit with a cord on it?
It's the handheld with the cord on it.
Okay.
Right.
And what'd you say the brand was again?
It's a C reader, launch C reader.
Okay, I have seen that now.
The one I bought off of Amazon.
So there are, I would say, no less than probably 300-400, maybe at the on the low end of different readers that are available out there. There's so many different ones under so many different brands that have been made over the years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I have seen that, but know nothing about it or whether it's really good or not.
Because so many of them take the same data that's made available through the JAE, whatever standard it is, and they take that same data and they just figure out different ways to display it, different ways to put it to the consumer, and it just all depends on what layer they're getting to. Now, you said it had OBD2 and EOBD?
Right, and it reads the engine, automatic transmission, anti-lock braking system, and airbag, and say storage and playback and dynamic data flow.
Well, that's all. That's what you're looking for. There There, as long as it communicates, the one thing you want is, will it read the car you're working on? So you've got to get a tool that will read the car you're working on and then do the functions you want. So like for us, we could build an under the hood show scanner. I could get the box, have it labeled under the hood show scanner, and then all I do is buy that basic JTool program to download into my tool, and then it allows it to work on these different cars, and then I could have a port in it, USB, where we could give you an update off our website every month, 6 months, year, 2 years, whatever we want to do.
Right.
So that's what these companies do. So when you're looking for one, look for one that will work on your application and more if you plan on using it on other people's cars. That's where the money's going to come in, and then does the functions you want that will perform those functions, whether it's bidirectional controls where you can turn a cooling fan on, turn it off, and also read the data from that while you're doing it. Those are the important things. So I really wouldn't worry too much about the brand name. We use the Autel scanners. It's not something we really endorse or have ever partnered with or advertised, but we do use them in lieu of our like Snap-on and the GM Tech 2s and things like that for scanning vehicles. If we're going to do something like at home or on the fly, where I carry one in my pocket if I'm out somewhere and I need to read a bunch of different things at an event or something.
Right.
So yeah, I think you're fine with what you got as long as it reads your car and is updatable.
Okay, it's updatable, and I actually bought it for home, and I saw it on Amazon where I bought it from, and I've used it probably out of 2 years. I probably used it 4 times. So
it's nice to have it when it's there and you need it. I know one day I was shopping on Amazon one day looking for I don't do a lot of stuff at my house with multimeter in the shop, but I wanted something different, and I wanted something with an amp probe on it. And my goodness, when you start searching, there's 400 different brands that make them at different price points from $18 all the way up to $1,000. And so it's a pretty confusing landscape, but it is good to ask questions and read lots of reviews from people, get past the first 2.
Look at the cost of the upgrades. That's really important too, because some people will go get one that is, let's say, $100, and then they find out that the upgrades are $40 or $50 or $100 a year to get more than what's currently in it when they buy it. That can be a detriment there. But then you've got other ones that you may pay even just as low as $200, $250 for, and then they've got upgrades for either free upgrades or $25 a year. There's different things depending on what it is. Some of them, if it's just for one car, you buy it, you register it to your one vehicle, and it's free upgrades as long as you own that car per year. But if you want different cars, you have to buy it. I know I gave one to Chris to use in certain cars, and data you had to pay. It had offered in-app purchases, and you had to pay if you wanted. Like, oh, you want to read your airbag? Oh, you send us $25. And who's not going to do that if they've already got a scanner in their hand and they have it set up for their car? Like, okay, I'll pay $25, and it's a good way to make money.
Lee, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I have internet here while we're doing the show. I just went to Amazon. I just looked up Autel. $4,400 is the first one. It's got 1,500 reviews, 5 stars.
That's a big one.
Second one, $69.
Yeah.
Autel, 5 stars.
That's the little Bluetooth plug-in, right?
It's got a cord. There are just on the first page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 28 different Autels
scanners. Yeah,
scanners. Prices from $59.99 to $4,400.
So you can see why people call the Under the Hood Show and ask us questions about which one should I buy.
And I don't.
They're a fierce competitor when it comes to getting into some of the stuff like that Snap-on does. They're learning and they're getting better, and of course, some of the stuff they do now, though, because of security reasons, they used to be great. You could buy their scanner and you didn't have to pay, like for Ford, the programming cost to enter the security to make new keys and reprogram. Right. Now they're asking you to enter a locksmith license number.
Oh, wow.
To get in there, and it's it's getting more difficult. And the weird thing is no matter what, even with the license, you still have to wait 10 minutes for it to unlock and program to do what you need. So I don't know what they're thinking that a locksmith license is going to do any good, because there's still a lot of companies out there, a lot of the Chinese ones you can get ones from that don't require any license. They just go into the car, but you still got to sit 10 minutes. If they're going to make something that'll get into anything, what's the point of the 10 minutes? It's like you're sitting around the mall parking lot trying to get into this car, and it's like, oh, nothing for me today. I'm just stealing this car. It's going to be 10 minutes.
If I knew it would be 10 minutes to steal a car, I might not steal that car.
It could be a difference.
Yeah. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Doug in Oklahoma. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Doug, what can we do for you?
I have an 07 Chevrolet pickup that downshifts violently when I go up a small hill.
Sure.
Might even downshift 2 gears. And I think I've heard it could be because it has oversized wheels and tires.
Did you put the oversized wheels and tires on, or did it come with that from the factory?
They're aftermarket. They were on it when I bought it used.
And it did not do that. It did not do that originally when you bought the truck.
Yes, it's always done it when you put it on cruise control. Yep.
If they are, the size of the wheel doesn't matter, but the overall size of the tire does matter. So if you had a tire on it from the factory that was 31 inches tall, and now it's got one on it that's 32, 33, 38, and they've reprogrammed the speedometer so it registers correctly going down the road. Maybe they haven't. Is the speedometer correct, 100% accurate as far as you know?
No, I believe, comparing it to my GPS on my phone, I believe it's a few miles an hour under, like 55. I'll be going 60 almost.
Oh, that's
59.
That is a problem in itself right there, because the transmission, shift points, and the cruise control all highly rely on the exact speedometer. So the first step would be just to reprogram the speedometer. And if reprogramming that ratio of tire size and gear ratio doesn't fix it, there are some fine tuning you can do with a programmer in order to set those parameters where it doesn't kick down so fast. But if that speedometer's off, it's definitely going to kick down faster.
And it's not reprogramming the speedometer. It's reprogramming the engine computer to know what tire rollout radius is on it.
So when you put bigger tires on, the 100% accurate way is to lower the gear ratio for every bit of tire size you go. So if you've got a 342 and you raise the tire, X amount of inches, maybe you're going to a 373. If you go too high, you're going to a 410. If you go higher than that, you're going to a 456. You just keep going up so that same ratio is there that the factory designed into it. But I think maybe even just reprogramming your speedometer to the correct tire size may fix.
If you haven't already have transmission damage, so have them inspect the fluid, drop the pan, look at what contents they find, what the fluid looks like. If it doesn't look burned up and they're not getting pieces out of there, you could have also, once you get that speed under control, you could have a pressure solenoid inside that valve body that's giving it the wrong pressure, causing it to downshift hard, shift hard. But that would be consistent across most all shifts, not just certain ones.
Right. So get it in and get it programmed for the tire size.
Before he breaks something, if he hasn't already.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. I saw on, where did I see it? Car and Driver, the Ram Charger. Did you guys see the Ram Charger with the dual electric motor and plug-in battery generator?
I did not.
The Ram Charger's dual electric motor drive system is fed by a plug-in battery and a 3.6-liter V6 powered generator. to deliver a claimed 690 miles of combined range. They said, I read the article, and it was not quite relevant enough to me to remember everything. You know what I mean?
How'd they do on the look?
It's totally looks like a Ram.
Does it have curved up over into the roof quarter windows?
I didn't notice.
Because that is just something that's so unique to those Ram Chargers and Bronco 2s. But the Ram Charger always had those curved up into the roof quarter windows. That was very unique.
Dual electric motors give the Ram 1500 Ram Charger full-size pickup truck 663 combined horsepower and a maximum tow rating of 14,000 pounds. Power comes from a 70.8 kilowatt-hour battery that delivers 145 miles of unladen range plus a Pentastar 3.6 V6 hooked to a generator. And it makes it a plug-in hybrid, but the engine only generates electricity, and they said unless it's under the most extreme conditions, the generator will be ahead of the charging on the battery. So it's 690 miles combined range, untested, but it's a pure electric vehicle, but with the generator built in. And there was talk in the article about the reason they use the Pentastar was because they have them, and it's a good way to. You can maintain it. It exists as its own thing, but it wouldn't run necessarily.
So they're running it like a train. They're running the electric engine to run it.
They said it works the same way as a train works.
So that 690-mile range.
Is the range long enough that they have any restroom facilities in the back Ram Charger area?
They do lunch. It's a light lunch and no dinner service.
Is there a butler?
There's a butler. Yeah.
I mean, you're getting
stevedores.
That kind of range, you're getting out there where you need some amenities.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive.
So are they saying you drive it and you're 650 miles, you pull into a gas station, you refuel it, and you take off again.
It's
continuously charging.
They said that this is all still not quite real world tested.
Less range if you're not plugging it in and fully charging it again, but if you're just refueling it, that makes it nice. Let's say your first trip is, even if you go 650 miles and then you refuel it at a gas station, just take off immediately. Maybe you're getting 400 out of the next one because you didn't charge it and plug it overnight. That's still pretty good.
And they said it should keep up with itself.
Yeah.
At under optimum, of course. I mean, it'll
maybe not under 14,000 pounds of towing.
No, and it's pure electric for about 150 miles. So they say it also has a built-in cycle where the engine will kick in every so often to run, and even if you don't need it, it won't just sit idle for 6 months or whatever.
That's impressive. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah, I saw it on. I got an email about it. So there you go. Car and Driver. I thought that was kind of interesting. I did see it on Facebook too. Everybody seems like the comments on
it's a pickup though, right?
Really, yeah.
They just call it the Charger because it's a Ram.
It's a Ram 1500 Ram Charger.
Yeah.
And most of the comments, people seem to really think it's a good idea, and it'll work really good, and no one's really opposed to it.
I think there
were 15,000 comments, and most of them were exactly what you could imagine.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Tim. You're on the Under the Hood show. Tim, what can we do for you?
Hi, good morning, guys. I have a 2001 Ford F-150, and it has an intermittent battery discharge. It'll not do it for a month at a time, and then it might discharge daily. I was told it was the radio that was pulling that charge. I replaced that. And the air conditioner also is intermittent. Sometimes it's fully charged, but it'll blow cold air, completely cold, freeze you out of the cab, and then all of a sudden it'll turn hot.
That's super fun. That's a super fun problem to have, especially when it goes extended periods and you think it's not going to happen, and then it does. That's the best kind.
With both those problems,
you're
going to have them occurring continuously while a shop's working at it. I can't tell you how many people I tell, well, don't even bother bringing it in if it's not doing it right now. And then they drive in because it just did it, And then they say, can you check it right now? Oh, is it doing it? Well, no, but it just did it like 5 minutes ago. That doesn't mean it. That's not the same as right now. Well, okay. Or they'll bring it in and they'll say it's doing it right now. So we go out and I say, oh, yeah, I saw it do it. Well, what is it? Well, I saw it do it once, but it's not doing it anymore. So now I can't test it. It has to be occurring. The light has to be on now, whatever, so to speak. It's because the tire has to be flat now so I can see where the hole is.
On the Tim, on the air conditioning, when it's blowing hot, will it keep blowing hot until you restart it, or
does the light for AC go off? Does it cycle the AC off on your switch? Do you see?
Does it only do it down the road or when you're stopped?
It can be. I can be driving and it'll blow. And when it's on, it'll freeze you out of there, and then it'll just shut off. It'll blow hot air, and so then I'll keep it on, but I'll roll the windows down, and then it'll just decide to come back on.
Oh yeah, so there's no way to.
No light, no nothing. It doesn't give you any warning sign. So
it can be on the highway or when you're stopped at a stop sign. Either way, it can do it.
Correct. Yep.
Well, if it's doing that, then that's going to be real fun to find, because we don't know, is the compressor clutch shutting off? Is there a problem in the system where we've got an expansion valve failure or something and it's sticking open and allowing the refrigerant to just flow? That could happen as well.
When you mentioned the temporary discharge of the battery, that's the intermittent discharge of the battery also, I do start to wonder about a circuit or something wrong in the what they call the GEM module in those Fords, which controls a lot of different systems.
So the thing that's like turning on the air and off might also be doing it.
I kind of wonder if it might not be something in that generic electronic control module, general electronic module. And I don't know if this is the model or not, but there's a few of them that they had an issue where moisture would sometimes leak into the cab via the windshield, and then it would trail down and it would leak into this module, and they would get infected with moisture. And then that module itself would eventually fail or have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they don't find anything just on their normal inspection, have them just physically pull out the GEM module and look at it and see if there's any water trails on it anywhere. And if there is, keep your focus there and you might find something. And that's a total shot in the dark.
Where is that located?
Passenger side, if I remember right on that vehicle, kind of above the glove box area. If I remember right, Russ, or am I thinking of a different module?
Yeah, well,
or is it over on the driver's side down low?
It's driver's side above the gas pedal area, and then when they went to the next truck, it was on the floorboard passenger kick panel.
Yes, I think this one here, now that you say that, might be driver's side. But just look that up on the internet and just see, because that could be a commonality to two intermittent problems like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, there again, where the wires run down along the kick panels where carpet is at and stuff, over time, you get enough age on them, you can get a lot of moisture in the carpet in the wintertime or whenever it might be, and then sometimes that will work its way into the wiring. And intermittent like that, that's the kind of stuff you're going to be looking for.
Tim, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Let us know. That is, you two might not be aware of this, but as the non-car guy, I don't think you guys realize how hidden things are that are under the dash or up under the thing.
I'll tell you that our dismantlers, the dismantle cars, they'll tell you they're very hidden. They look for them all the time. Where's this module? Where's this module? And we're looking at all data. We're looking at everywhere. We try to log where they find it. They're all over the place.
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Hour 2 is coming up. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivant's.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are very glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter, here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. I can do that right now if you want. While the music was playing, we had calls on hold. Do you want me to show you?
Yep.
Okay.
We're here.
Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Okay.
Show us how you do it.
Russ, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Brian, are you ready, Brian? Brian's not ready. He was waiting for this. Let's talk to Brian. Brian, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Got an 09 Dodge Journey, a van, and relation has it, and they called me and said that they opened the door now for some reason, and the horn beeps real fast. And it's one of those vans that has the battery. You know, you have to pull the left front tire off to get to the battery. And all of a sudden they are saying that the battery, they've had trouble this past week with it going low and charged it up. And now they're in some town, small town, East River. Is it safe to drive back, or are they going to have trouble? Or that's it.
That's it. Like, perfect. Well, 09 Dodge Journey is kind of their crossover that they were making. It's basically like a shorter van. If you cut the roof down on a van, you kind of got a Dodge Journey, and it's got a unique look to it. And they sold a bunch of those Dodge Journeys.
By the way, we've been talking a lot about legislation and the big government.
Yeah.
I would be all in favor of making a law that the batteries can't be. You shouldn't have to take off any body panels or anything to get to the battery. That should be a law that it's just right there. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the most annoying thing in the world.
Well, but
next to airbag recalls.
Wait till they go
to do it over and over again.
Yeah.
As things switch to hybrid and electric, you got batteries hiding everywhere, so that's probably not happening. In very hard to get places.
Right.
I can pull a battery out of a Prius, a hybrid battery out of his Prius faster than I can pull the battery out of that Journey, I'll bet you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the doors opening and honking the horn, that sounds like a security's getting set.
Mm-hmm.
Is what's happening. It's setting off the security alarm for some reason.
It should be turning itself off when you use the key fob or when you stick the key in the door and unlock it.
That's what I would recommend to them to do if it's still affecting them, is to override it by manually sticking the key in the driver's door and unlocking and locking the door, and then trying to start the car. Hopefully that would
take up that,
maybe cause that to go away.
And then they'll have to get that fixed still.
There's something going on there that's tripping that. But if the battery is low and you're getting low voltage, vehicles can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That's what makes me nervous. You start getting low voltage into these modules and not the right power to them, they can get real funny. You don't want to be replacing or changing anything if the battery isn't good first. And that's why, especially in a battery, well, not especially, any location, that's why Clarios, our partner, they the AGM batteries, we promote them, and most of the manufacturers, because of all the electronics in the cars,
they'll last longer, so you don't have to take them out of the fender.
Factory equipment is an AGM battery now on a ton of cars. Mm-hmm. I'd say the majority, Russ, you think? Think it's the majority yet?
I'd say at least 50%. I would say all of the ones I'm seeing that are built like from 21 and newer. I'm seeing them in all the trucks now, and so especially the more heavily loaded they are with electronics, the more the greater the chance that you're going to see an AGM battery in that vehicle.
Absorbent glass mat.
Now, on this journey, is it like if the battery's doing funny things, it can do all sorts of funny things? Is it something that if they replace the battery, they can...
That might fix the problem.
Well, they better hope it does.
Right.
I hate to say that like a threat, but some of the Chryslers, when they get weird and you get into problems with their, totally integrated power control modules and some of the front control modules, there can be some chaotic things that can go on, and it can cost a little bit of money to figure it out because the modules are not cheap. I know, like our partner at Dorman Products makes a lot of them that are plug and play now, which
makes it helpful,
which has helped. But the factory solutions are quite expensive and require factory programming.
Yeah, usually over $1,000.
So let's hope it's local. It's a battery issue. So start off with good battery, good connections, clean connections. Check the grounds that are under the hood, the ones that you can see, to make sure there is not a broken wire, a corroded wire, a loose connection to the frame. If you've had a major repair done where the engine or the transmission's been removed, make sure everything's tight where they've got the ground wires to like the bell housing between the motor and the tranny. I mean, just look at all that basic stuff. Look where there is fluid under the hood, like the washer reservoir, and see if there's anywhere where maybe that's leaked onto a wiring harness, and some of that can be corrosive to the wiring harnesses. That's the kind of inspection you start doing when a vehicle gets to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old. That stuff can happen. This stuff is weatherproof, but not time-proof.
Does that help you out there, Brian?
All right. I just wanted to say a week ago when they had trouble with it, they charged the battery and did a draw test wherever that was, and the battery was good. But now you said with the key fobs, in the driver's door, lock and unlock it?
Driver's door, typically on a vehicle like, many, many years, it's been that way. That was kind of the known, I don't know if it's a standard or not, but you could put your key in the driver's door and manually lock and unlock it, and it would typically shut off the security and make that vehicle be able to be started and turn off the security system.
All right, I'll tell them that much. All right, thanks.
Thanks, Brian. Good luck. Yeah, so if I bring that journey into you and I need a battery, does that cost me more than if I'm bringing in
Yeah, there's some of them will replace at no charge, free. You buy the battery and we'll put it in, but anything that's in a fender or something like that, we're going to charge for it. And a couple things can happen because it's in that fender. It's harder to get to. First, we got to find the wheel lock key on a lot of them. Where's the wheel lock key? I don't know. You have to find it. So we have to get around that. That could take time. And then you have to remove that panel, and that can take time if they're rusted. There are a lot of times there are bolts going into plastic with little metal clips, and they're rusted, and then you got to get new clips, and it's kind of a pain. And then once you do access it and you're staring straight at that battery, a lot of times the corrosion has corroded the clamp that holds the battery down in there. So you got to get that taken out.
You almost have to do it on a time and materials basis. Say, hey, if this thing comes out quick, we can do this in a half hour. Yeah. If it fights us, we could be there for 3 hours trying to put it in.
Do you browbeat the person like you do me for not being man enough to pull the panel off? All of you guys up there have said, you can do it.
With your panel, of course.
Yeah. I wondered if is that standard or is that just me? And then
you should expect more harassment than our normal customer.
And then I watched him do it, and I was like, I could have done that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Massachusetts and talk to Eddie. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Eddie, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for taking my call, and thank you for doing a call-in show like this.
Thank you for listening.
What part of Massachusetts are you from?
Actually, Walpole, Massachusetts, the next town down from Gillette Stadium.
Oh, that sounds fun. I got some good friends out that way. Robertson's Auto Salvage, and then they've got a GMC dealer up there.
Yep.
Scott Robertson is a great friend of mine, and he's in Worcester, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's the one that twisted my arm finally to enter in as the volunteer leadership for our trade association. Scott is the one that made me finally say yes.
Uh-oh.
So I love him and hate him all at the same time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that wasn't great on the friendship, I don't imagine.
Yeah, but he has also pinned me down in a wrestling match for no reason in a hotel room.
That's weird.
And so I've got to respect him.
All right, well, that's got weird. Eddie, get us back on track.
Okay, now the car I'm going to talk about, it's not my vehicle. It's my neighbor's son's vehicle, and I have not seen it. But he's got a 2011 Ford Flex, and he was complaining about a mushy brake pedal. So his dad knows a little bit about car repair, enough to get him in trouble. So they bled the brakes a couple of times, didn't affect it at all. They went and bought a new master cylinder, bled the brakes a couple of times, still the same. Went back to the auto parts store, and the guy says, well, you could have a faulty master cylinder. Take another one, which they did. Put it on, bled the brakes a couple of times, still nothing. Then he says, oh, it's got to be the power brake booster, which I doubted because usually when that goes, the brake pedal is like a rock. They put it in anyways, bled the brakes again, gone through at least a gallon of brake fluid, and after 2 cylinders, master cylinders, and the brake booster, he still has mushy brakes.
Well, it's because it's a Ford Flex. Everything flexes when you push it.
That's how it's designed.
There's a bad dad joke to start the call.
When a car has gone this far and a customer brings it in and says, I've done all these things, now it's your turn. Now we get to pay you. It's like, but it's going to be how much? I already spent this much to fix me.
Which they've spent some money, especially putting that brake booster on. Whew.
Yeah. You've got to look at the simple things. Something that could cause this after they've bled all the brakes over and over and boosters and the whole bit. Yeah. If a brake caliper on that has sticky slide pins, so the caliper's not moving properly, that pedal's going to go 3/4 of the way to the floor before it's even going to start to move. And that's because they're rusted. So any one of those brake calipers, front or rear, if they don't move freely back and forth to contact that outside pad with the rotor, and then the inside moves out, there's a problem right there. They have to have free slide pins.
When I was talking to him, my question was, any of the rotors or calipers look rusty?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the back ones are kind of rusty, but they look okay.
No.
Yeah. They need to physically inspect those for proper operation and movement.
The Flex is really bad for the rears, famous for the back locking up and sticking. The slides, not the actual caliper, because people will take them off and say, well, I can push the piston in, they're fine. No, what about the slide pins? Did they slide? And they're like, what do you mean? Let's check that. So that is what we check first. I would go right for that. And if that is fine, then we've got to pull the big guns out and get a pressure gauge out and start at the master cylinder and work our way down until we find a pressure loss. We got to measure it there at the cylinder, and the pedal should be solid with several thousand pounds of pressure. And we move down to the ABS pump, solid, and go from there all the way out to the wheels. But I got a feeling you're going to find it in something simple like a wheel cylinder that's a caliper
like
slide.
Something basic.
Yeah, like a caliper slide is probably going to have just one of them stuck, and it's maybe a 1/4 inch away from where it's supposed to be, so it's got to take up that slack every time they step on the pedal.
Very good. I'll pass along that information.
Yeah, I feel bad with the money they've spent and the time they've spent on that. That happens a lot on brakes, for sure.
Eddie, thanks very much for the call. Yeah, that is. How much have they spent? And how much is it?
Well, if they did that with all new stuff, I mean, the master cylinder itself, you can buy for what, Russ? $70, $100, $60 for a new one.
No, they're getting higher now.
Are they?
Most of them are like $150.
Oh,
now.
really?
And a good used one's probably 80.
Okay, I didn't realize they went up that much. I haven't bought one for a while. So you'd have that, but a brake booster, if you buy a new one of them from the dealer, you're anywhere from $150 to $700.
Yep.
And then that is typically a 3 or 4 hour minimum operation at shop time.
They're getting pretty good at that though. They're bleeding the brakes.
Oh, the booster is usually a stand on your head, twist your back, get a cramp in your arm operation. They're no fun.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Iowa and talk to Brian. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Brian, what can we do for you?
Hello. You guys, I had a 2001 Buick LeSabre, and you guys fixed that. And it was a computer because it kept throwing a code and it shut itself off. I got a 13 Ford Edge, and a backup camera will work intermittently. Do you know what I should check or how to check to see if that'll work?
I think I'd start off by calling the dealer because they did a campaign on a whole bunch of those where they're replacing them under factory warranty. But this might be old enough; it might not fit. But you might check with that.
I think it was 5 years.
Yeah, I just throw that
5
out.
50,000 mile. They extended it because they had a problem. They were reprogramming, and then if that didn't work, they put a new camera in it with a new program. But I can't tell you how many edges.
Is there a chance they got a bunch sitting on the shelf and they'll give them a deal?
No.
Okay.
We buy a lot of them and put in the Ford project. You know, products, whether it's an Edge, an Explorer, the trucks seem to be fine, but the little SUVs that we replace a ton of these cameras, they weren't really good. I mean, really, what is good and what is not? I mean, it made it 10 years. No, they weren't really good. It only made it 10 years.
Right.
Only, yeah. But
that's something you don't expect to go bad. You expect your tires to wear out.
Right.
You expect your seat to get wear on it from sliding your butt in and out, but you don't expect your camera to go bad.
That camera technology has gotten really, really good. You take probably your truck.
Yep.
You back up at night. It's pitch black. And
I can see wonderfully.
Yeah, you can see everything like perfect color, like it's day.
Something I noticed for the first time, for some stupid reason, just the other day, I've got the overhead camera that shows you the view, and it's got a little symbol of your truck. And it is so good that I noticed we have a fan in our garage that runs by our exercise equipment to move the air around off the air conditioning unit. And it has got, I could see the fan spinning in the camera like I was looking at it.
No kidding.
It's that clear on the front as the front cameras came on ahead of me. I just had never noticed that I could see that clearly because I'm usually looking beside and behind me.
Sure.
Much better nowadays than I ever have.
Brian, does that help you out?
Yeah. When I bought it, I've got it this winter, and I took the black plastic off the hatch, and I put dielectric grease on all the connections going to the camera, but I didn't know if there's something else I should try, but I'll see what the dealers say.
Give it a shot. Did
it work before you messed with it?
Ever since I've had the vehicle, it seems like it's just wanted to work whenever it felt like it, type of thing. You know, you throw it in reverse and it says no camera, and then it says see the dealer, and then pretty soon, back up sometime, and then all of a sudden it's working again. That's just
put it in reverse.
I can't really
put it in reverse and hold your foot on the brake, or have somebody do it that it's not going to run you over, and then bang on that camera.
You would need two people.
Yeah, just smack it. You don't want to run over, but with it in reverse.
Just take the side of your hand, boom, 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 give it a few.
You could put it in reverse with the engine off, and it, the switch turned on and the wheels blocked too. Whatever it takes to make it safe, but then go back there, and you remember the days where we could just say, just go check it.
Yeah.
We got to detail how to be safe, but yeah, give it a smack. Just tap, 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 and if it comes on, go get a new camera.
I'll say this: it doesn't take long, and you forget about it. I have my new system that it has the backup camera. I don't think I've looked at it since I got it because for 2 years I didn't have one. I had a different unit in there.
Oh yeah,
I don't even notice that I have the backup camera. It just is.
You got a front one too.
Yeah, I know. And I don't. It's out of sight, out of mind for so long that.
Oh, I got to push the button. Oh yeah, I got a front camera.
Every once in a while,
I finally have gotten where I trust the lines.
Yeah, took that. Yeah,
taken a long time to trust the lines. The lines that show you where you're going to hit, where you're not going to hit.
They move when you turn the wheel further.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
I don't have lines, and I kind of like that. I don't, because
they're there.
Thing.
I turned them off because they're
thanks,
just
buddy.
ugly on yours.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here. Don't forget you can watch the show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to that and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Pat Treacle. Congratulations from all of us here at the End of the Hood Show. And our friends over at Universal Technical Institute and Berkeley One Classics, celebrating 50 years of collector car coverage.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Adam. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Adam, what can we do for you?
I have a question on my radio on my pickup. I had before tried to push the eject button and I push another CD and then it slide out. Now when I want to put a CD in, it won't want to go in now.
I got to back up this question just a little bit first because I'm having some confusion here. Our note we get says it's Adam with a 15 Silverado.
Yeah.
And I, for the life of me, didn't realize that a 15 Silverado still had a CD player.
Mm-hmm.
I think they made him as an option up until 18, if I remember right.
Okay.
Then you're done. It's just
Where
DVD.
is that CD player? Right below the screen?
Yeah, kind of right below the screen.
The screen doesn't tilt out on that because that's the older version. I think Russ is.
Yeah.
No, this is right below. I thought the 14 and newer body style they went away from that. Interesting. I just been reminded of something apparently.
Yeah. So now you can't buy a CD player as far as we know in any vehicle. We haven't seen one come through here in the last couple years. In like 20, I think in a few models, 22 was like the last year.
I think I can.
Chris, can you Google that?
Was it Road and Track that they had the
but I
thing
can
and they
tell-
said the last CD player has
I
been...
can tell you, Adam, it's broke.
Yeah, it's broke.
That's it.
All right.
It is. You've got two choices. You can either buy another unit, have it put in and programmed, which is going to be a considerable cost.
Like, because the whole screen, is with the backup camera and the radio and whatnot.
And they have other options for that truck too. With the size screen you have, if you had to replace it and put in,
I know where you're going with this.
You wait until the rest of it breaks because it will. There'll be something where it's going to say CD and you're going, well, my CD player won't work. I can't put it in. It's out. They have a kit you can buy that's basically a dash kit for putting a radio in. And instead of putting that radio that you have in there, it puts the bigger size radio in or a tablet. You can put like a Apple tablet in there.
It still will have your backup camera on there too? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you get all the factory stuff, but it's like a Tesla-sized screen. You can get like a 12. I think you can even get a 14-inch.
Do they make one like
iPad.
that still has a CD in it?
No, that just goes away. But you have your Bluetooth and MP3 and all that off your phone or, for Apple CarPlay.
Can you
and
get
all
a
that.
Discman and a cassette
I don't have
adapter?
A Bluetooth
Yeah.
phone, I just have a flip phone.
Okay.
Yeah, Russ, we got to give him an option here. We got to figure it out. And Chris, I don't know if we can use a Discman and an aux cord into the former. I just had a car come in the other day. And I took a picture and put it on our company page, and it was a Honda Insight. One of the first hybrids. I think you commented on it. Keep that. I think you wrote. But when I looked inside, not only did it smell like a 2001 car, it had a cassette player with a cord coming out of it.
Oh wow!
And it for the aux to play something else. I just smiled because I hadn't seen one of them in operation for a long time. That was a thing. That was a pretty big deal. That was a way to do it. Just think of the fine harmonic sounds that would come from that.
Yeah.
A cord hooked to a cassette player reading off the tape heads.
Yeah, I had one of those in our shop truck for a while.
know.
It's dead, though. But
was it... Just think how bad that probably sounded, and we don't know it now unless we compared it to something else.
It's a pretty decent cassette players.
All right,
back in the
here's
day.
what you can do. Now that I know there's a CD player in there, a lot of times GM was really good about modularizing those pieces. So you're saying that from what you think that is also part of that unit with the screen?
Yeah.
I think it's all one unit. I think that main unit on that is it, because it's the same one they used in the Traverse, if I remember right, and the Traverse and that Equinox type thing with the big screen.
Wait till you go aftermarket and replace everything, but you will lose your CD player. And if you've got an awesome set of CDs and things you like to listen to, and that's your jam, then you might go to Cardash Part and get on a PC somewhere and go to Cardash Part and see if somebody near you has a used unit with that same option package that will guarantee it. And it would have to go to a shop and get installed. You could install it, but somebody's going to have to program it because they have to be able to put your VIN number into that unit so that it knows it's in and it's on the right computer network. It has to authenticate itself with that vehicle. That's not expensive programming. That costs, depending on where you have it done, $50 to $150. Some do it cheaper than others. Depends on how much time and money they've got to let people have them do that stuff.
Yeah.
But you could just replace that whole unit and hopefully get another good one, because they do break from time to time. But would it be any good for him to try to take some compressed air and just clean it out inside there? And
it's already broke.
See if something changes. Get a disc cleaner and stick in there.
If it got a piece of tape or something from the old CD or a label or something in there, it would cause
used
problems.
To clean all kinds of crazy stuff out of CD players and make them work again.
Mm-hmm.
So
get one of those CDs with the felt on the bottom.
Yeah, just try some stuff.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
Some compressed air though, just into the opening and try that for a bit, since it's not working anyway.
PB Blaster.
No.
Oh
no.
All right. Jeez, quit yelling.
No.
Adam, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. You want to know what year was the last year?
I forgot. I wanted to ask Adam what CD he was wanting to listen to.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That'd be about as good as Guess the Color.
Should we guess?
He's gone.
It was country.
So last year that GM offered a CD in the Silverado.
GM. Yeah.
Silverado.
So which would be the same as the Sierra.
20.
It's the I'm going to say the body style change.
18.
Based on that phone call, I would say 19. But based on what I thought I know, I would have said 13.
I think it's 18.
21.
We're both wrong.
Mm-hmm.
They still had it into the new body style.
It was an option in commercial vehicles.
Oh.
No.
That means that's still the classic body style, because they ran that for a few years in rentals and things like that.
Okay. 22 was the first year they didn't offer CD players.
What about other models? Does it say it all?
Sure. Yeah.
Could you tell me a couple more? Because I'm very intrigued by this.
Does anybody still sell a CD player?
No, I can't.
Can you still buy a CD player?
Google that.
Well, I'm on it. I mean, I could read the article.
You say you're the best searcher of anything on the internet.
I've got the info, but we have a radio show to do. Get off my back.
Don, wait just a second, because I think our listeners may be intrigued by this.
It's in this article. I'm not going to read this whole article on there.
Read it at the break.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when they came out with it? It was years ago. It was probably on one of those 2010. When was the last bent seat? Remember that?
When did you stop being able to scan something quickly?
See, I was trying to delay while Chris got the answer, and instead he's looking at me going, "I'm fascinated by the bench seat thing."
As of last year, and I don't know what. Let me go find when this article was written. This article is from 21. Over time. You're getting the article now. Over time, the way that people listen to music in the car. Okay. As of last year, so 20, the only GM cars that still offered CD players were the Chevy Express van and the GMC Savannah. But even those only offered CD players as an option. Several GM models from 21, including the Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon XL, and Escalade, had newly discontinued the CD player option. That was as of 21.
New generation.
You're not going to get a work Escalade.
Yeah. There you go.
I like the work package in that with the vinyl floor.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Florida and talk to Don. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Don, what can we do for you?
Hey, am I in the air?
You're here.
Darn. Hey, is this live or is it Memorex?
Both.
This is live, and we were just talking about what could have been a Memorex cassette.
It's not Memorex, but it's an adapter that slides in.
Yeah. Memorex made it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is true. The reason I'm calling is that Cardash.com. How far back does that go? I mean, it's supposed to have like 200 billion parts or something?
Car dash part.
Yep. And I tell you what we've had that as a sponsor. They're friends of mine, the family that owns that from Kentucky, and they have got their system going back a lot of years, but it's going to be limited by what people put in there for their systems.
Right.
And I think one time we looked for a weird emblem for gosh, it was a 40s something, wasn't it?
It was.
We found it. You found it.
There was that one, and then there was also, we looked up like a 51 Cadillac part or something, and there were multiple options.
It gets a little trickier to figure out the make models and where people might be hiding stuff, but their system integrates and links up with the inventory management systems of salvage yards across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 3 different systems that are prevalent in our industry. There is the Pinnacle system, and the one we use, which is the PowerLink system, owned by Solera, a company that's about to go public. And then there is the Checkmate system, which is also owned by the same people that own Car Dash Part. They bought that system and they own that system. But they have figured out the integration so that if you have your inventory resting in one of those management systems, it sends regular data feeds to them, and they put everything in one cabinet and sort it out. And then when you search for a part by zip code, it will bring in regionally who has that particular part listed in their system. And then it says, okay, you need a wheel for a 2014 Buick Regal, and here's all the people that have that wheel. It helps you search for the exact wheel, and then you make a deal. You call whoever you want to call and see what they have. A lot of places show pictures of their inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Some people show pictures of the source vehicles, and it's a really, really good system. And CarPart they don't get in the middle of the transaction. At some point, they said they might do an e-commerce system. They've been working on it, but as of right now, they'll just get you connected with the seller.
And then that, when you link on it too, it depends on the seller what process they have.
Yeah, everybody does business differently to a certain extent, and so you got to call them and say, "Hey, will you ship it to me?" "No, I don't ship it," or "Yes, I'll ship it." How much does it cost? No, I want COD. No, it's credit card only. I mean, everybody's gonna have their own rules. And
there's no, Don, I'll tell you this: you can go look. Whatever part you're looking for, you can go look for it. It's not just it's classified. I mean, you can put in what year, what part you want, and you can go see if they have it. It's not just an unchecked system. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, they're constantly looking at their data to make sure they've got good data and they're not having erroneous things in there. It's a great system.
So if you, Shannon, have a 1934, etc.,
if it's in my system, it's gonna link out to theirs.
Right. So we always say it's for late model vehicles. I mean, in general,
it's cars from brand new to the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I'll just say it as simple. That'd be pretty normal.
20 years is normal.
Yep. And then there's going to be outliers. There's facilities out there that specialize in older stuff. I mean, I think of like our friends. One of them called me this morning, left me a voicemail, wanted to ask about some shipping supplies from French Lake Auto Parts, and they specialize just in older vehicles, and they dissect them just the same way we do a newer vehicle.
And you'll go in and it'll ask you all those questions down. So go check it out and find out if anybody has it.
And it's live.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Bill. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bill, what can we do for you?
Yeah, I got a 2015 Volkswagen Golf that I get my oil pressure sensor light comes on. It's not burning any oil. It's got the right amount of oil in it. And I've gone to both Advance and O'Reilly and done a scan. And both of them come back that there's no warnings, no issues. But the light still comes on.
If the sensor's bad, if the oil pressure sensor's bad, it'll turn that light on, and it won't give you a code on it. As long as it doesn't have an open or a short in it, it's not going to give you a code. If you short it, it'll give you a shorted code, or if it unplug it, it'll give you an open code. But if it's in its range from, let's say, 2 pounds, which would definitely turn the light on, up to 110 or so. It's not going to give you a code. So it could just be that sensor's bad. As the cars age and the oils start to break down and gets gummed up and sludged, they'll plug that port.
My biggest fear for you is that you're working so hard to make sure that you have a sensor problem. Do not pass go on the fact that you should check the oil pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure. It's new enough, you shouldn't have a problem. But boy, that would be a shame if you missed something that was suddenly giving you low oil pressure. And so they might want to manually check that.
You could take the sensor out, go buy yourself a new one because you're taking it out anyways. Get a new sensor, and while it's out, they could screw in a gauge and check it. Or you could just screw the sensor back in the new one and see if the light goes off. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, then we really need to check.
I'd be nervous.
Pressure.
I'm just telling you, I'd be nervous enough. I would want to check the oil pressure. As expensive as these engines are anymore, I'd want to know if I'm getting an oil light on and off. My first hunch is, yep, I got a sensor problem. This is reading weird data. Let's check it out. The sensor's not expensive. I'm going to put one in it anyway. I'm going to inspect what I see when I take it out. But while I got it out, I kind of want to check oil pressure.
This is one of the issues with cars. I mean, is just that in this case, it might be the sensor's bad, so we replace the sensor. In other cases, people think the sensor's bad, so they replace the sensor, but that's not the problem. It is sensing, right? I mean, with like O2 sensors.
It's reading, but is it correct? We're talking about oil pressure and
just had a
camshafts and stuff like that. The cam and lifters are going out of the Camaro. It's DOD, displacement on demand.
Yeah. So Russ is like breaking this to me on the air.
Yeah. It just hit me the other day. I just remembered I fired it up, but we were talking about sensors and whether things are right. There's no indication there's a problem, but the last 2 times I've started it, it's given me the click, click, click and been dead on 4 cylinders.
Time for a cam and new lifters. Get rid of the DOD.
Fine. Yeah. Well, that cam and lifter, when that comes out of there, it sounds like a winter project. It's coming out. It's getting a bigger cam, and it's getting different exhaust too.
If I got to put it back together stock either.
Right.
It's not. I don't think that's a stock cam in it.
We've wondered.
The intake's been off of it.
Yeah,
before,
we've wondered.
But in Bill's case, I mean, in this case, you're going to have to bring it in.
You got to find out if you got a sensor thing. If something's wacky and you go, hey, that doesn't look right, don't just drive it.
And you, if he brought it to you, could you?
Yeah, I'd pop that sensor out. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take depending on how hard it is to access. If I remember that one, it's pretty tough. So even getting in there with a gauge, I'm probably just going to stick the new sensor in, start it up and go, okay, the light's off now. We're fine. But then if he drives it for a week and he goes, hey, the light came back on again, then I got to know. I'm like, oh, crap, I had it out. If I just would have checked it. If I would have checked the pressure with the gauge while it was out and he calls me in a week and says it's back on again, it's not the sensor. You've got something going on with a computer or the dash or something. So then I could be looking a different direction. So pull it out, put a gauge in it, see what it says.
A lot of those places will rent you or borrow you, not borrow, they usually rent a gauge, pressure gauge. They probably have that as an available option. If not, they're not super expensive to buy one with a range of fittings anymore.
Does that help you out there, Bill?
Okay. Yep, sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks, man. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Alan. You're on the Under the Hood show, Alan. What can we do for you?
Good morning. I just looked, you were talking about CD players. I drove a 24 Subaru Outback Touring, and it still had one standard. It's in the center console. So you open up the center console, and there it is.
Might be the generation of people driving those cars.
That's awesome, though, to know that. Did you ever find out when the last CD player was put in any vehicle, Chris?
24. This Subaru has a 24. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think you've let me down on this question completely.
I answered your question.
No, you stayed in GM. You were in GM the entire answer.
Well, like we would want, we would still want
ice cream.
If you're buying a new car like me, maybe.
Made me feisty.
I know a lot of people who are still rocking a whole ton of CDs and they'd want a CD player. So when we look at the generations buying these cars, who buys the Subaru?
What is it going to take?
Have the really young
Did you
ones
put
too.
any CDs in, Alan? Did you mess with it and put stuff in?
Oatmeal?
Salt and pepper?
No. Yeah, right. So salt diet's a little low, but with a little bit of pepper. No, it wasn't mine to put it in. It's
rental.
deal.
So I got to ask you and Chris and Russ a question. What is it going to take for me to get rid of my cassette and CD collection that I refuse to get rid of? And I haven't used them forever. What's going to be when am I finally going to say it's time?
Just one day you're going to look at it and throw it away.
Because I've officially as I hear the songs I enjoy, I add them to my playlist.
Yeah.
And I haven't.
Look at your CDs and cassettes, and if there's any songs you really like, add them to your playlist, and then just throw the darn things out because they're worthless. And as they get old, they start getting worse. They're fading out.
I know. I just can't do it. I've moved them around between storage areas, and I just can't do it.
Certainly gotten smaller.
There's probably some preppers out there that would buy them because they're there's going to be no MP3. We're going to put it in our Walkman.
You got some gone. You got rid of some. That surprises me.
Well, there was a time. There was a sweet spot for me where I had a lot of CDs, and there were multiple businesses in town that would buy CDs and
pay a decent price.
Yes, and
So you cashed in.
I cashed in at about the perfect time, and
now they we'll take them for free and maybe sell a few.
I got perfect timing, and I still saved too many, and I still have too many.
They're still selling CDs.
They do. They're making a comeback a little bit.
I was in a couple of those places here in the last few months, and I went, how much for that? I mean, they were getting like $29 for some of the really
I had a
popular
JVC
stuff.
CD stacker, like 100 CD stacker in my house.
Yeah,
and
I remember those.
Yeah, they were fun. And
Fixed
you could play random, and then it would. It's like jukebox-like almost.
There are 11 2024 models that offer CD players as an option. The first one is the Subaru Outback Touring,
as Alan's just telling us.
Right.
How about the Honda Civic R?
The Mercedes-Benz GLC.
Of course.
Nissan Maxima. That's weird. Lexus LC 500.
Interesting.
The generations again. Who's buying those cars?
Lexus retired the CD player in 23 and then made it available in the 24. The Toyota Sequoia 22. And then, let's see, Subaru Forester.
Got to be some Cadillacs in there.
BMW X7. GMC Terrain. Cadillac Escalade.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That makes sense to me.
There's more. Yeah. I mean, there's 11. Let's see. Dodge Durango, Nissan Armada. So there you go.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Now,
listeners, are you happy that we pushed on that? Because I think that's interesting.
It is.
That's a much longer list than I thought it was because I thought they were done.
Yeah, exactly.
Cassette players are done.
Now find out how many cars are left with manual transmissions that you can buy with a manual trans. As a normal car, not like as a racing one, like we talked about the Civic R. I mean, like a car or a truck, because they're pretty much have pulled them from everything now.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah. So there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now today you have satisfied me with
I've satisfied
almost a French silk,
your belly,
almost
and
a French
your mind.
silk Miracle Treat Day Blizzard. And now you got me content on this.
I am the salve that heals all of your wounds.
Hey, just as quick as I can here for our local listeners, we have got Nordstrom's Night at Houston Speedway this Sunday night.
Yes.
And there will be a T-shirt toss for a retro Nordstrom's T-shirt with cash attached to some of them.
Okay.
Kids pole position drawings in the front straightaway where they get to choose from 8 different toys, and they'll also help the Outlaw Sprint Car drivers pick their spot in the main feature. And we're going to have little free gifts while they last when you come into the stands, a little can topper and some earplugs, a little race survival set. So come out to Nordstrom's Automotive Night at Houston Speedway in Brandon, South Dakota this Sunday night. It always used to be 8 p.m. sharp, but they get activities going way sooner than that now.
That'll do it for the End of the Hood Show. Thanks for listening. All right, this is the after show. What, Doug? My email? Both emails.
Well, the guy, he says, "Hey guys, recently discovered you in radio, and I can't wait to listen to you every week. I've got a problem with my cruise control on my 1500 Chevy pickup. My brake lights, daytime running lights, when I got the truck, everything worked fine until I had problems with the transmission getting hot. So somebody advised me to take out a sensor and delete it. And that's what I did. And I think since then, all those haven't worked. I'm wondering if he deleted too much. My brake lights work, but I have to press the brake down halfway to turn on my brake lights. So do you have any idea what might cause that? Well, the cruise control, if you got a problem with your cruise and you got to push your brake pedal down halfway, you need to address that problem first, because that cruise should shut off if you basically just rest your foot on that brake pedal. So that's not pushing it down halfway. That's just pushing it down maybe
Tapping it.
eighth inch, just touching it. You may just have a bad brake switch there. Also, when the vehicle is in gear or the brakes are on like that, the daytime running lights are affected by that. So again, brake switch could be affecting the daytime running lights. I would definitely go right to that problem, address that. And it may just be a brake switch. We put on a lot of brake light switches.
And when you say brake switch,
vehicle.
do you mean on the pedal?
On the
at
pedal.
The top? Okay.
Yeah, right at the top of the pedal, there's a switch that you can put on yourself, but then you need to program it.
Okay.
Calibrate it, not necessarily program it, with a scan tool. And once you do that, that'll at least hopefully fix that one problem you have.
Okay. Thanks for the email. All right.
Yeah,
what else is going on?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Lots of different ways to get questions into the show.
Well, since we're off the radio part and we're on the after show, and some of the radio stations get a little touchy when we touch on certain subjects.
Now I'm nervous.
Yeah, I'm nervous too.
Well, all right, so radio stations, that's where you go if you want a political radio show, right? Because they're all over, and that's where you hear them. You hear the political show, so they turned to us to get away from them. So if you don't want to hear something that doesn't speak directly about any certain candidate, but just gives it in general, then just turn it off. So SEMA, we talk about them every year. They're
Specialty Equipment Marketing Association.
What do they do?
Manufacturer. Thank you.
So SEMA, that is where you
I'm
go if
terrible
you
with
want your
acronyms.
product represented, so other people can buy it to put in their shop. So like if I want to sell some new wheels, and I want some new aftermarket accessories for Jeep, because that's what I'm going to sell in my shop. I'm going to go to the SEMA show, see the thousands. So they have over 7,000 vendors registered with them. I'm going to go there to see thousands of people that have maybe what I want, that I think maybe, oh, that is cool. My customers will buy that from me, giving me and my employees money. I'm going there to buy it. Oh, they have engine performance parts. I'm going to SEMA to find that, to hook up with those companies and buy those parts.
How many people each year do you think go to SEMA with an idea and then find it's already
somebody already had it?
Yeah, Shannon, you and I have come up with tons of good ideas.
I've had the second thought on so many ideas in my
exist.
life. It's crazy.
They can work together though to see. So the business of the automotive aftermarket currently, gathered by SEMA with the information they've taken from sales numbers from all of those vendors that they work with, like I said, over 7,000 of them, is currently over $337 billion in annual economic impact. That is a impactful amount of change.
Yeah.
So they have issued a statement.
They are the advocates for this, for sure.
They have issued a statement that came out on July 23rd, 2024, on the nominee for the president of the United States. And this could go all ways. I mean, it says one
Does it
party.
specifically say for
It
the
says
president of the United
Democratic.
States?
It
or
says
just
for the
talk about
Democratic
in
nominee.
elections?
No, it says the Democratic Party.
SEMA statement on the Democratic nominee for the president of the United States from Mike Spagnolia
without saying a name.
He's president and CEO, and
Well, I suppose at the time.
May not know the name.
Right.
Changing monthly,
still,
weekly.
maybe.
Right. So the opening of it just gives you an idea. So the Specialty Equipment Marketing Association, SEMA, appreciates the difficult task facing the Democratic Party as it begins its process of identifying a new nominee for President of the United States. Sounds fine so far. While many issues will be weighed and considered with regards to the pool of emerging candidates, SEMA asks that the party identify and unite around a nominee whose values are in line with those of SEMA's members, the 7,000 plus companies that create, buy, sell, and use specialty automotive parts, as well as the consumers whose support of these businesses help create jobs and fuel a nearly $337 billion annual economic impact. That's a pretty good statement there, and it just makes people think in general. When we're talking about cars and your ability to buy a scan tool from one of these vendors and scan your own car, to fix your own car, to choose what wheels and tires go on your car, to choose what specialty equipment you buy from your car, even from something like a body part. We've seen some body parts regulated by emission controls in California because they changed the aerodynamics of the cars, so they had to be certified. So you really think, no matter what you're doing, as this season really heats up like crazy, how will it affect you? Because you might say, nothing affects me. But I recently had a son-in-law who I was talking to, and I said, think about how it affects cars in your business and stuff. If you're no longer able to buy these parts or sell these parts, that's a lot of money that's missing. And then how does that trickle down with the rest of the people involved? $337 billion. That's a chunk of change, isn't it? So
with a B, billion.
Yeah, but that's the first time that I can recall SEMA ever speaking out. And they're speaking out on behalf of all those automotive companies. Usually they just say, think about what you're doing. But now they're actually issuing official statements. So those things, because we're in that world of here come the electrics, here go the electrics. Mm-hmm. Oh, we should have them. We shouldn't. Oh, we're going to have more fuel. We're going to have less fuel. That is a big consideration.
The automotive world, I'll make what I think is a grand statement here, has always been about, even going clear back when you watch the old movies, has been about the personal expression of the person that owns the vehicle. It's an opportunity for a vehicle to give someone's their feeling about their automotive is expressed through their car. And the aftermarket allows people to do that in some way. Some people do it with wheels and tires. Some people do it with custom paint. Some people do it with body kits. Some people do it with fancy interiors. Some people do it with fancy stereos and electronics. All these sectors are represented by SEMA. And so what they worry about when you read between the lines with their statement is that anytime there are higher forces in government that are trying to limit your opportunities to express your own personal freedoms with your vehicle, which is what it's about, they don't like it because they don't want you to be able to sometimes change your horsepower of your engine or modify the output of the exhaust. It's about, do you want to be controlled, or do you want to be able to express your freedoms through your vehicle and your own personal feelings through your vehicle? So I think it's just such a big picture at play by the way the government thinks and the way they may want to control the narrative versus this is a freedom thing.
Should you be able to take your car into, let's say, my place to have it repaired, or should you have to go back to the dealer because the dealer knows best because they built the car, right? The manufacturer built it, so the dealer should be the only one allowed to work on it. We went through this with the Right to Repair Act. Can that be changed, revoked? Oh, yes, it can.
Yeah. And the dealership's a great place to go, but it just doesn't have to be for everything.
Right.
Everybody should have a choice to go anywhere and, do.
So I'm happy to see SEMA expressing their thoughts on this because there is a lot at stake.
You betcha.
And let's just keep it on automotive.
Okay.
You might want to put a CD player in your car. You can't do it. Nope, no CDs. The fumbling with CDs could distract you from the driving.
It
you
is
could
crazy
cut yourself
right
on
now.
the edge of it.
You look at the numbers, and the distracted driving accidents are through the roof.
And
we have cars that are
CDs.
safer than they've ever been to stop distractions.
They're freaking out on it. I listened to a discussion today about the speeders. Now it seems to be a lot, and they're making a big news thing about how many people are going crazy over the speed limit in our town. And I'm thinking, It's been that way as long as I can remember, since I was a kid, in every place I've ever lived. But they're just making a thing about it. But now, as vehicles go faster and they get there quicker, cars have the ability to way outperform the person driving it. You put a kid in one of these Corvettes, they go, "Oh, Dad's out of town. Let's hop in his E-Ray and go for a cruise." That instantly hits 100 miles an hour on a road that's speed limit's 30. We're seeing a lot of that around our town, and motorcycles. I have a good view of the interstate, these babies hit the interstate, and by the time they're on that on-ramp, or if they're already on the road, they are doing, I click them off stopwatch style and watch. They're doing every bit of 150 miles an hour as they blow by, and they're just like, we don't stop them. They're going too fast. We can't do anything. They've gotten sneaky. I talked to a guy here a few days ago, and I said, "So, aren't you doing anything about it? Because they're sure making us think." "Oh yeah, we got all sorts of stuff." They said, "We've got some younger officers who are, very young, riding the crotch rockets with a helmet on and the GoPro on the dash, like you see a lot of them with GoPros to film their stupid stunts they do. They're following around these packs of bikes, cruising along right with them while they're speeding. They go back to the station, they download that video, they take the license numbers and the speeds, and they go knock on their door. Ticket time. Let's get the word spread around. But boy, they are just flying in some of these things. And I mean, we didn't go that fast because our stuff didn't go that fast.
Right.
It took a while to get up to that speed and took a while to slow down. But now they can go from 0 to 150 and back to 0 between two exits with no problem. They're just
crazy machines.
Yeah, and they will outperform you. You cannot. That people think that they can control anything. Boy, you can try.
We got a friend of ours from Riley's growing up that is out of town now, and he's recovering in the hospital from a motorcycle accident and having a lot of fun on the big freeways where they allow lane cutting and some of that stuff, and somebody merged over onto him as he was going by, and in this case wasn't going crazy, and he's got serious injuries. Thank God he was wearing a helmet.
Didn't they just allow lane splitting in Minnesota? Did that just come up? Do you remember, Chris?
I don't know.
I mean, if you look that up, I think they just allowed that as of July 1st. So that means a motorcycle can drive between two cars that are each occupying their lane. They can go right down the middle between the two of them to save time and things like that.
That's crazy.
Well,
and it depends. Some of them are in some states have certain areas, circumstances where it's allowed and where it's not.
But I think the riders take it kind of as a carte blanche, said, "Oh, I can do that everywhere."
Yeah, so you'd have to look that up, Chris, to find out the details. But I remember they talked about it.
Minnesota's 2025.
Is it 2020? That's when it's coming?
It'll be the 6th state to legalize lane splitting and a practice known as filtering, starting July 1st,
What is
2025.
filtering? Does it say?
I'm getting there.
So one of the places I lived, they allowed lane splitting. But here's the problem with it. When you're in a traffic jam and we had 3 lanes on the right and 3 lanes on the left and the cars were all stopped and you decide they're parked, so you're driving between the cars now going 10 miles an hour, which is perfectly legal. You've got idiots that will open their door to try to stop you from going through, and they'll leave their door open and they'll yell at you and they're like, "You can't do that," and it's legal. They're like, "We don't care. We're stopped. You're going to stop." You'll have people that'll turn over to try to block you, and they'll cause injury to people because they're just jerks. So that can be a dangerous situation if you're. I mean, I like the convenience of being able to go through, but really, if all the cars are stopped and you're a motor vehicle, it might be safer to be stopped, unless there's an emergency, and then you pull off on the side or whatever. But they're changing some stuff you see change that you wouldn't expect to change, and other stuff that not.
Yeah, this is. I'm glad you brought that up, but you just gotta be careful out there. Lots of crazy stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
Lane filtering is a practice where a motorcyclist rides their bike between lanes of slow-moving or stopped traffic on a multi-lane road. Or that's lane splitting.
Yeah, that's splitting.
Oh, it's all and lane filtering.
So it's the
They're
same
kind of
thing?
The same thing. Yeah.
Just different ways of calling it.
I think so. Yeah. Understanding the distinction between the two. Let's see. You're giving me a lot of
This
Let's
is
see.
probably why we don't do internet searches
Right.
on
Yeah.
during the show.
Lane splitting.
Well, this is the
what we
after
just
show.
said. What
Yeah.
are the pros of lane splitting? Reduce traffic congestion, reduce risk. That's the big thing. And that's where that came from. That law, one of the things that the reason it came about, I know this, is because of motorcycles in stop and go traffic being hit by cars because they're looking at the car ahead of them.
They're getting rear-ended because they're
Yeah.
sitting. I've had that happen a couple. I've been bumped from behind while I've been going. I go forward a couple of feet, stop. Forward a couple of feet, stop, and they're not paying attention, and they boom, and you're like, oh, I didn't see you. You're on your motorcycle.
Lane filtering typically occurs at intersections where a motorcyclist advances to the front of the line of cars stopped at a red light. This allows the riders to move away from the potentially hazardous cluster of vehicles in the event of a rear-end collision.
So they're just letting them go front of line.
Yeah, they're letting them get in between cars. So if you're going to hit something, you're going to hit the cars and not the motorcyclist.
But how do you get people to know that that's legal where you live?
'Cause it doesn't feel legal when somebody
Right.
does it.
And I think I think the difference there is lane. You can't go. You're not advancing.
Yep.
You're advancing up to that. You can't just go through and weave your way through. Depending on what the rule is where you are. In some cases,
Sounds
it's a safety.
messy to me.
Yeah.
I've been on the.
There's only 6 states once Minnesota switches though.
I've been on the George Bush down in Dallas, down there on vacation, and we're going along at like 90 miles an hour. I mean, that's the traffic flow. You're zipping along at 90, and you'll be 6 lanes wide, and motorcycles will come between the cars, splitting lanes.
I don't think that's what they intended lane splitting for.
And they're doing like 140 when they do it, and you're like, whoa! I mean, you just all of a sudden you look in your mirror to see if somebody's next to you, just a car or whatever, and you have and
Didn't somebody make a YouTube video of them going like
Oh.
super fast somewhere, and then they ended up getting arrested because they put it on YouTube of them just.
Oh yeah, it happens
Oh, yeah.
constantly nowadays. Yeah.
Well, if you're going to put you on there, it's like you're not faking the video. It's there you are. You should be subject.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things that if you put on video, you can get.
At the end of the day, you got to be safe. There's been, once again here recently, we've had loss of life on UTVs. There's been motorcycle accidents of friends of mine, and just be safe. And make sure you know the machine, what you're doing. If it's got seat belts, use them. Race car drivers don't go out without their seat belts on.
No.
My cousin was racing a race car this year for the first time, and
did he beat it?
He got out there and was doing well, but he had some seatbelt issues.
Oh.
And there was only about a lap left or so in the heat race, and so he just kept going. Wouldn't you know it, that a car moved in front of him, and he ran sideways right into a car that had spun out. Didn't see him because he was following somebody, and all of a sudden that car moved, and boom, he hit him, and his seatbelts were not properly attached, and he's still dealing with cracked vertebrae in his neck, a foot that's swollen up that won't go down, even though there's nothing broken.
Nothing worse when you're thinking you should be doing something safety and then you don't.
But I mean, the point is when they're out on the track, they're belted in.
Yep.
So if you're in one of these UTVs and you're out and about and they have those options, please use them.
I think that no matter where you stand on any issue, it's for sure 100% that no matter what the issue is on the Under the Hood show, Shannon ends with someone dying or being injured terribly. No matter.
I think it's the curse of my mother if she's
matter
still
what.
listening, because she always would give us the worst case scenario of what could happen.
It could be birthday cake. We could be talking about the best birthday cake.
Somebody once they got
Shannon-
asphyxiated by the smoke on the candles, and they fell
Shannon's
down and
gonna
poked
say,
candles into their eyes, and now they're blind.
My friend's
That's probably
uncle
happened somewhere.
choked on a birthday cake. So be careful. That's 100%. We know that's going to happen.
Can I tell you the story about my mom choking on a broccoli spear at a birthday party?
No.
That's birthday.
No.
And to this day, we don't eat broccoli spears as a family.
Somebody wrote into the show the
That
other
would be
day
weird
and
if
said,
that were your thing anyway. What do you guys do? We eat broccoli spears together.
this is the after show, people. So if you're the one that wrote in the other day and said stick to the subjects, and they were, it was a YouTube listener. I'm like, come on, this is the after show. We do what we want. You can end when it comes to after show.
There's plenty of on the subject
Off.
material you can go listen to.
There's somewhere.
There's lots on material subject. We get bored staying on subject too long. You realize how hard it is for me to stay focused for 2 hours?
No kidding. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
And cut.
Thanks for watching. Hit like, subscribe, and do the whole thing, will you? If you're here now, if you're watching,
If you've gone this far,
you got
come on.
here. Give us a hand.
Give us a solid and hit that thing.